It is going back to his hand.
I, I'm thinking Pearl Lake Ancient should be in Masashi's deck.
I think it should definitely be in there too. Yeah, he certainly has the lands for it. And then he has Nykthos too, so if he gets the devotion, he can certainly even cast it right then and there again.
I wonder, could you use that to boost up your mana, use Nykthos, and then return it, replay it? Some Palinchron action?
Yeah, I think you'd have to have a whole lot of devotion on the field, but it could work.
Yeah.
Pearl Lake Ancient is a Palinchron. That would be interesting. So Riso's just trying to rip right here against the Ancient, I suppose, and
yeah, this one.
Gonna buy him a turn.
I think this one's over.
Ooh. You know, we have been waiting. We waited all last night. We waited today to try and see if the Leviathan would do anything, and Nessie finally got there.
Boom.
So does that mean we want to start buying some more of these, or?
I liked them at $1 as a mythic, but I don't like them much past that.
Yeah, that's kind of my worry. See, the cheapest English set right now on eBay is $12 shipped.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah,
they've gone up to $3 since yesterday. I mean, there was a big run on them yesterday. So.
Guys, if you go to BidWicket, there's 13 available for 84 cents. So I mean, with shipping, I'll check that out. Shipping 49 cents, so you can actually get a playset for $3.85 right now.
That's good.
Someone should totally pull the trigger on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's I paid a little bit more than that yesterday. I think I might have paid like a little bit over $1.
Yeah, I think I'm going to buy 4 of them.
So, Adam, did you get your set of Dig Through Times yet?
Yeah, I actually didn't have any. I figured I'd like pick them up cheaper, and then I found some yesterday for $5.50.
Nice.
So I bought a set, and then I was pretty worried that I wouldn't get them because the price went up so much. So I'm like, oh no, they're not gonna ship them, and I'm gonna be upset. So I got proactive, and I messaged them, and I said, oh, thank you for the Dig Through Times. I'll be sure to give your store a shout out in my next article. And then he confirmed shipping today with tracking. So
Nice.
Awesome. You know, buying 4 of something, I think that if someone cancels your order for 4 of something, that's really crossing a line. Like, I can understand the store going, oh, you can't buy 16 of them. That's intentionally buying.
That's fair. Like,
fine. We can respect that. We're business people, too.
He's like, we play our games and they play theirs.
I love it.
That's what it is. That's what it is. But, I mean, Dig Through Time was just such an obviously powerful card once people started playing with it, but I think when the issue is when people look at a new set of cards, they don't actually play with a card, they just pass a judgment on it. I think that's real painful.
And they also use like the worst possible comparisons for their judgment and ignore actual facts. Like, well, Ancestral Memories wasn't good. I was like, well, that's because it was a 5-mana sorcery that required 3 blue to cast. This is the opposite of that in almost every way except what the card is trying to do.
When your first Treasure Cruise, or when your first Dig Through Time for that matter, costs you blue, and the next one costs you 2 blue, like, are you still winning the game? Absolutely, you're still winning the game.
Heck, no one played Sphinx's Revelation at first. I don't think people jumped on that.
Yeah,
No,
people
it was
were
$3 for a long time.
Revelation. So this is an interesting match, by the way. Floke is on blue-black control. Brad Nelson is on red-white tokens and burn. His only creatures are 4 Monastery Swift Spears. And then he has a bunch of token-producing spells, but he packs a deck full of hate.
Very cool. So Dig Through Time's available for $9.75 on TCG Player right now. Someone has 12. So everyone's saying it was an $18 card and freaking out on Twitter and Facebook. We're a little premature on that.
I agree with you. I had spoken with Kyle Lopez earlier this week, who runs E3 Games, and he said people do not realize just how much cons is being opened right now and how much is being sold. You open 6 cases of all.
really interesting how the people are saying that expected value from a box of cons is more than the purchase price, and
Reminds me of Wormwake.
and the ability to actually realize that profit. I wonder how realistic that is for the average person who doesn't have a storefront or an existing.
You get nearly 4 fetch lands per box, so you're going to be getting, $60 to $80 off of those, period. And if you're buying boxes at 90, you don't have to hit many other cards to make that worthwhile.
But can you get $80 for your 4 fetches, though? I mean, polluted deltas are dropping pretty fast on eBay, aren't they?
Yeah, they definitely are.
The time may have passed. Well, also, if you could actually buy the boxes at a cheaper price, it might be more worthwhile.
Yeah, I think wholesale is still $78 or so on those.
Holy cow! You could. I see on TCG Player there's a $14 polluted delta now. That's the cheapest, and they start from there.
That is good to see.
Yes, because I need 3 more for my legacy deck.
Yeah, and I mean, I need to pick up my set of the Onslaught lands for Modern
Yes.
eventually.
And have we seen the price of the Zendikar fetches dropping yet?
They took a hit. They lost a couple percent. Let me look on these stats.
Let's see here.
So, yeah, Scalding Tarn's peak was $97 back in March, which is a lot. I know that when Cons was released, so more close to Cons, it was about $68, and now they can be had for about $54. It's dropped to about $14, so about 20%, 15-20%.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm seeing lightly played copies in the mid-40s here on TCG Player. So definitely dropping. I don't know how far it will go, but I've been patient.
Boiso has a very slow hand here, by the way. He has 3 lands, a Reclamation Sage, and a Prophet of Krufix. The only card in there I want to be casting is Prophet. That's a 5-turn drop right there.
Yeah, he's not doing much.
It looks like he had a Thoughtseize take his cord, which made the hand a little bit more interesting when he had that. But
Yeah, this is a pretty weak start for Masashi.
I'm surprised you keep that.
Especially a turn down, or I mean a game down. He kept that in game 2. I mean, he must be very confident about it.
I think against decks with Thoughtseize, people are usually much more wide in their opening keeps.
With the thought that you're gonna be nailed anyway, so you might as well keep the 6.
Yeah.
And I guess if you're playing blue-black control, you don't have to keep the most aggressive hand. I don't know.
Yeah. Adam, you're our resident standard player here. How happy are you that Packrat is gone?
I'm really upset.
I believe you were one of the earliest people on Packrat.
Yeah, I liked Packrat a lot. And I mean, I didn't mind playing against it at all, so I think after Bile Blight, it became a much more fair, reasonable card.
Ah.
So Goblin Rabblemaster hasn't been too dominant in this Pro Tour, other than the Jeskai Tempo deck. I don't know if we've really seen a lot of it.
I think he's shown up at most of the feature matches, but I don't know that he's run away with stuff. And what's fascinating is I'm looking at it, October 1st he was $20 on TCG Player. Yesterday he was still $20. I mean, the card is basically locked in at that price, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's going down. I think it's just a question of, is it going to go up? Probably not.
It doesn't feel like it's going to go up, because I would think that it is such a reliable format staple card, even at this Pro Tour, and that people have not acted on that should indicate that Rabblemaster isn't doing a whole lot more than $20.
I mean, the expectation that it'll do more than $20 is unreasonable. I don't know what people, do they want that to be true? That would be terrible. I don't think that there's a basis for $20. It's not Mutavault. It's not a Mythic Rare.
Yeah.
So I don't know why people think that there's some imperative to justify the fact that it won't go over 20. Like you.
I'd be interested.
Go ahead.
I'd be interested in seeing how much of the set was open compared to M14, because the comparison to Mutavault was interesting, because Mutavault was so widespread, and it held the price of, I think maximum price on Mutavault was in the 30s.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, I think so. And Mutavault was one of those cards that made decks work, like it made Mono Blue Devotion actually work.
And Mono Black Devotion.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So maybe.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, so maybe the $20 is pretty accurate. What were you saying, Sigmund?
I was just looking at the chat in the Kelly Reed Twitch. It says here the Twitch chat for Watsy's coverage is talking about buying Pearl Lake Achens. Kelly, you'll like that.
Yeah, I'm looking at that. It's like, yeah, I know. We were talking about that yesterday afternoon, but thanks. We appreciate the tip. It's like, I'm sorry, I gotta dig into this for just 1 second. Like, this is what when people say, oh, I can just get all this information on, like, the Reddit MTG finance sub, which I love. It's a great place. Just like, no, you're not gonna get, like, literally up to the minute advice there. Like, no one's being paid to just feed advice to /MTG finance. So.
And moves in prices are happening earlier and earlier. I mean, not long ago, I would just look on Sunday at what decks were in the top 8 and then buy cards accordingly. Now you have to be way in front of the curve in order to, make the most money.
Yeah, it really seemed like the best opportunity was actually Friday, because then you could get an order in and hopefully get it processed and sent out on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Because that wait to Monday seems like a long time.
It seems gutsy to see, okay, they mentioned dig through time the first time, I'm going to go buy 50 of them, but I wonder if you have to be willing to do that.
And you have to be willing to be wrong too.
Yeah, that's the risk.
The thing is that I think this is starting to highlight the market has really changed and it's gotten so much faster. The time to have bought 90% of these cards was last weekend. Like, dig through time was already trending up before the Pro Tour. That tells me that there's information.
I think Dig Through Time gained 80% price last week. I mean, that should have been an indication when it went from $1.50 to $3. That should have been an indication that it was good.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I'll pull the chart up for you guys.
Well, this is the thing, though. Also, people lack the confidence when to pick up a card, and when it is just you wondering whether this is good, it's really easy to say, I don't know, and then move on to the next thing, and then feel regret. But when you at least have other people saying, yeah, I think this is a fantastic idea, you should do this, I'm doing this myself, then you get a little bit more confidence. Or you get other people saying, no, you're right, you should back off. Like, there's nothing left in this card.
Or you get two conflicting points of view that shows you what the inverse case of your unbridled optimism is, and then you're forced to incorporate that into your thoughts. So now instead of just feeling something, you've got opposing points of view to consider, and you can talk yourself back into the realm of logic.
I want to let you guys know that what you are missing on the YouTube stream of this is people talking about how the U.S. dollar is doomed and taxation and been nearly one level removed from the Illuminati, so you are not missing much on the YouTube stream.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah.
It last night it was kind of degenerating into what I experienced during the Bitcoin's craziness. People were just talking all kinds of trash in these chats that I had to close them. There was just such stupidity.
Oiso has got a World Anissa out here. The Ninja obviously has negated his reclamation stage, got taken care of. This is where a blue-black control deck starts starting to get its power and its hands around the devotion deck, because he will eventually be hitting something like a Jace's Ingenuity or a Divination and recharging. He's got a Negate and a Dissolve in hand, so he has potentially Oiso's next 2 spells locked away.
Again, those are 2 cards that Oiso could be playing. Dig Through Time.
Dig Through Time? I think he did. Yuck. 4, 5, 6, 7. That's gross. But here's the thing: if you're playing the blue-black deck, what cards are you grabbing from Dig Through Time that actually help you win the game if they're not called Pearl Lake Ancient?
More Dig Through Times, I guess.
Yeah, I guess more Dig Through Times. We had talked about in Modern on the Modern Enthusiast podcast about how you can potentially use Delve and Gaia's Blessing or Elixir of Immortality to thin down your graveyard and to make a more lean deck whose plan is just to recycle lightning bolts over and over again and play the opponent that way. You will eventually create a deck that is only 4 lightning bolts and an Elixir of Immortality, and you will win. Here is this a second Dig Through Time? So Owen has seen 14 cards for the bargain price of 7 mana. Dig Through Time gets better with Scrylands, and it gets worse with polluted deltas and fetches because you have to shuffle all those cards back in.
I guess, but it's more cards to delve, right?
I guess you do get an extra mana off of every fetch line. I mean, I'm going to be playing blue fetches in the decks with Dig, certainly.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I guess the ultimate would be, you know, if you're playing mono blue, do you still run fetches if you're running Dig?
I mean, she's looking at Owen's hand right now. He's got 6 cards and he just peeled off a Dissolve. How does Oiso even bounce back from this? I hope he has his own Digs in his deck.
He can't cast anything right now. I mean,
he does. Yeah, I mean, Owen has 2 to 3 counter spells in hand.
Maybe if he had a Pearl Lake Ancient.
And there's another Dissolve. Owen has, by the way, scryed or looked through 16 cards so far. And that's interesting. Yisan the Wanderer Bard. Look at that.
Yeah, I expected to see that.
Did you?
I wonder, I mean, I assume he maybe just has 1 to chord for, but some people were playing 4 of them, which seems a little bit crazy.
That seems ambitious. And there's the Ancient. Jeez.
I'm really wondering why Oiso's into blue. What is the main draw for him to blue?
You know, and it feels like when you sit down and you want to make your cool metagame breaking Friday Night Magic Grand Prix deck, and you look
Absolutely.
at picks, and you think that that's why you're running blue. But like when you're facing down 2 Pearl Lake Ancients crashing in for lethal, that was pretty crazy right there.
All right, blue-black.
Kev finally
Is
wins
this the first
game.
win for Blue-Black?
It is on camera. It is the first win. It is now 1-7 on camera.
Maybe now we'll get that.
Yeah, that was round 13. So 6 of those were drafts. So of the I think Blue-Black Control has been in nearly every single round on camera in a standard match or a featured match or a over the shoulder like what we're seeing now. Okay, Christian Siebold is playing a Sidisi deck with Whip. This is interesting. This is the first time we've seen any sort of Sultai deck come up. So I'm interested to see how he does. This could be still at 9-3. This is a deck that could get into the top 8. It is one to look at. This is another bubble match. They are tied. This is the 3rd game. A showing for a Sultai deck would be massive. We have seen none of those so far. He's got a Soul of Innistrad out right now. Even if Soul of Innistrad is removed, he still gets a good benefit from it, and he also gets to basically tap out and draw 3 cards from his graveyard, which is a big deal. I mean, that card says as long as you have a sufficiently stocked graveyard, you get to pay black, and 3 or 4, and then draw 3 cards, and that's incredible.
Just so you know, I did a quick eBay search for a Pearl Lake Ancient now, and I see the cheapest buy it now is $4 and change, and I don't think there's any English sets available, just a Chinese and a Spanish, and that's it.
Wow.
So they're starting to get some attention. This will be $5 tomorrow at least. Yep. I see the comments, cheapest on TCG Player, $3. If you buy by themselves because their price is less than $1.
All right, the audio should be working now.
I was in the design thread or the design
Okay.
articles from either Sam Stott or Mark Rosewater or somebody
Okay.
on the MTG. They were like, we needed this card, and the reason why we added prowess was that you would have stalemate mirrors of Pearl Lake Ancient, and we wanted people to be able to fight through those and make it interesting. But like that card was entirely hand-handedly made. It's inelegantly designed. It's just like, well, we need something to beat Bullback Control. It has to be a big creature. It has to have flash. It has to be unkillable. So here it is. Here it is. You can't be able to counter it. Okay. If you were to sit down with a piece of paper in 10th grade study hall and figure out a way to beat your buddy's mono blue deck, Pearl Lake Ancient is the way to do it. Isn't that a clever card at all?
Yeah, that occurred to me when I looked at it. It seems real kludgy and heavy-handed. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it's a great card.
I just don't think anyone thought it was a great card 2 weeks ago.
No, definitely not. I mean, people still don't necessarily think it's a great card, but it's powerful and it does a lot of things. And I heard a few pros talking this weekend about how they really felt that doing things at instant speed was very, very important. And this is something you can do at instant speed, so that counts.
Absolutely.
I mean, and 7 mana is not really that much. It's not like it costs 8 or 9. 7 mana is sort of the next step above a Titan, and we're kind of in a mid-range format.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
achievable.
it makes sense.
Yeah, it's a slow format.
And also, prowess is relevant.
Yeah, it's the great stalemate breaker.
All right, I picked up 8 Pearl Lake Ancients from Pastimes. We'll see how this goes.
Good luck.
12 bucks.
That's not terrible.
Oh, $1.50. I'll see what I can do for fun.
I mean, if they ship, it's almost guaranteed money now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've ordered like 16 or 17 of a card before, and they sent it. So, and also it seems like the bigger the shop, the more likely they are to send it because they actually value their reputation more than
Pastimes,
$10.
They have, in the past,
Maybe I'm wrong.
said that they aren't. they prefer not to be bought out in large quantities. They specifically asked me, they're like, next time could you just not order so many? And I said that's fine, but 8 seems like a very reasonable number.
I think so. It's like a set for you and a set for a friend. I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm shocked by how many Magic players I run into who have never bought cards online and may not even have some form of plastic money. I'm not saying you should have like an 800 credit score and be transacting Magic cards all the time, but I mean it's surprising when we all do this. We all buy cards online and we get them shipped and we understand how it goes. We know the stores to go to.
Yeah.
And we just we are blind to the fact that a whole lot of Magic players would never ever conceive of buying cards online.
Or if they did, it would be Star City because that's what they know.
Yeah.
And they say, "Oh, I'm willing to pay 50% more because I can trust them, or it's going to come." And I've heard people tell me that before.
Mm-hmm.
That just blows my mind because I go to shops and a lot of the ones locally here, they don't even put prices on their cards now. They just say, oh, we just use TCG Mid or whatever, or
Yeah,
Star City, worst.
that,
And it's like, who's gonna pay that? Like, why would I pay them the same price for Star City prices or TCG Mid? Mid implies that there's like 50% cards that are cheaper. I mean,
Yeah, you're right.
it baffles me that people would pay that. I mean, I guess it supports the local store, and I'm probably poisoned for them, but.
Well, and then I would like to sell cards to you. Well, we use the SCG buy list price, and it's like you guys don't know about that that buy list price and why it's so low is because they any of that going on. You can't command that.
No. I mean, that just baffles me.
What stops people from buying cards online? You think it's the lack of, like, doesn't everyone have PayPal at this point if they're over the age of like 16?
No, I mean it's there are still a significant amount of Americans who will not buy anything on the internet, and so you might be in line with this too because you follow the stock market a lot. But I think last year they said that last year was. For Christmas was the biggest time when people said that they ever ordered presents and stuff online. Like the most number of people had ever gone online shopping to buy stuff. I think it was like 9% of America. For Christmas for somebody.
I wonder if
for me, Christmas is like crap. It's December 22nd. Like Amazon 2-day shipping live dangerously,
Fast and loose.
The postal workers are going to hate me here.
I can see like the baby boomer generation not doing it online because maybe they're not tech savvy or not comfortable enough. But they're not the ones playing Magic.
There's a great deal of people, and I have a friend who works for the FDIC and evaluates banks, and this is a majority of Americans are unbanked. They don't have a banking account anywhere. They don't have direct deposit or anything like that, and they don't have any form of plastic that they can use to access their money. And I mean it's understandable in the idea that you can pay $2 or $4, get your check cashed, and have all that cash money in hand. But there's a lot of people who never buy anything online.
So looking at the chat here, Cable Rock says a lot of his friends don't have PayPal and aren't familiar with purchasing stuff online. FegG53 said he spent €15 on 12 Pearl Lake Ancients, including shipping. Seems like if it's at €3 to €4 tomorrow, it's a nice tidy profit. So let's actually wonder why aren't people familiar with purchasing stuff online? Like for us, it seems like as natural as drinking water.
I don't know. I can't figure it out. People, like especially younger and younger people, they grew up with the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember a time where I didn't have internet in my house, but younger and younger players are going to always have known internet in their life, and it seems like a natural relationship to buy stuff online. Unless they're just too young to have their own PayPal account, but.
Yeah, I just don't know. I try to understand.
Are they talking about Pearl Lake Ancient right now?
They are. I'm actually going to turn up Tom Napelli here so we can hear him.
Oh, gosh. There it is.
3 times with just 6, it's not good enough. But if you hit someone with 6 and then 7 and then 7, because you actually cast spells, you can get to 20 in 3 attacks. So the numbers are just meant to be the most pressure-inducing possible numbers, and it is hilarious to me that actually comes up all the time when you play with it. There is a tension.
See, Adam and I have a history because we remember Tom Lapilli when he was small child before he was big man at Wizards.
I don't know if what he's saying is that relevant. I mean, okay, so 7 plus 7 plus 6 is 20.
Yeah, it left me wanting more.
Yeah.
When I talk to Tom, I always want more. I always want to hear more. I actually met my wife because she was very good friends with Tom Lopilli and his family. So I have
Really? I
everything
didn't know
to say
that.
about Tom.
I think Pearl Lake Ancient's going to be, much like, what's it called, Dig Through Time yesterday, that, this one will be the jumper for today.
I think so. Kind of want to buy more now.
I mean, I don't think it's going to hit 15 like Dig Through Time, but
Could it hit 8?
I don't know. Let's check eBay here.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a comparison card to look at.
I mean, from a percentage basis, it's probably already almost there. Much Dig Through Time grew yesterday. Sheesh. 5 buy it now listings on eBay. Cheapest one, $4.99 plus $1 shipping.
Which card is that?
This is Pearl Lake Ancient. The cheapest one on eBay now that's buy it now is $6.
For a single
So
copy?
yes, I think for a single copy, yes.
Wow.
There's $6 for a single copy. There's $6.50 for a German copy, and then there's a Korean foil for $60. I mean, there's really not much on eBay
60
now.
Korean foils laugh. But I mean, if it's a real card, someone will pay for it.
Yeah. So yes, I think $8 is very possible.
Wow.
8 really? That seems high.
I don't think it'll stick there, but I think a copy will sell at $8 tonight if it keeps getting the talk. You don't think so?
I just don't think it's played not in enough decks, not in enough quantity. I
So,
think like
I mean,
5
you know
is
that.
is the right number.
I mean, you know that, and I know that, but are there people just watching the stream and thinking, "Oh, look at all this talk! I'm gonna go buy some"?
There are a lot of people who are new to the idea of finance and trading and picking up cards before they spike and such, that I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of people just get over emotional and go, oh my god, I need to buy in. But like,
Well,
that will adjust itself back down fairly quickly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and Magic is a small population. A lot of people who are inexperienced with it and all that. But I mean, you see the same thing happen in the stock market, where some trendy stock will get someone's attention and then just skyrocket, and people don't want to miss out on it, so they just buy, and then eventually it just collapses right back down again. So it takes a lot longer in the stock market.
Yeah, there's a lot more actors and a lot more liquidity too.
Yeah.
And there's legitimate buy walls.
And the nice thing about the stock market is that there is a whole lot of stocks being transacted and a whole lot of buyers. The unfortunate thing is that you never have something that goes up 200% in a day.
Hey, real quick, they're doing a single card spotlight on Sidisi Brood Tyrant right now on coverage.
Sidisi, really?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn up the coverage audio for the viewers.
Animation version.
I'm not hearing it.
No?
Yes. Maybe it's just me?
I can't hear it. So real quick, Pearl Lake Ancient is getting bought out of Bidwicket now.
There are some Pearl Lake Ancients from international sellers on eBay that are cheaper. Those always, by the time they get here, it'll be back down to $2 again.
Yeah, I actually got 3 Glittering Wish from Spain, and they came in a reasonable time frame, and that worked out for me.
That one was a good one to get, yeah.
For the record, this Sultai deck is running 4 Whip of Erebos main deck.
Ooh.
This is, by the way, Sidisi Whip of Erebos is still the most disappointing card out of Theros for me. Everybody who reads it knows how powerful it is. It still doesn't do anything. I have such high hopes for Whip. I really want this weekend to be the tournament where Whip hits $5 or $10. Because I've been waiting for it. God knows I've been waiting for it.
I think you're going to keep waiting.
Yeah, I think you're right. Adam. Hey, Whip is going to stubbornly sit at $2 for its entire standard run.
If people actually start using a playset main deck, we might see it hitting more than that, especially if it's a tier 1 deck. It could hit $5. But
what do you guys think of Sidisi? I mean, is this something that has more
Sidisi?
legs?
I think it's like $5, and I mean it's a mythic, so that's interesting to take.
It's a 4 of in his deck too. That's pretty
it's a
important.
4 of.
Yeah.
Also, it's not actually as narrow as it seems. You can actually just use it by itself, and it'll start producing tokens. It sort of snowballs. You don't have to do that much work to make it good.
Yeah, Doug, I'm looking at this MTG stocks chart for Whip of Erebos. It does not look pretty.
It's got that little tail at the end, though. It's starting to kick back up. So, if this is a deck that becomes top tier, I think Sidisi and Whip of Erebos both have some upside.
Yeah, if it hits the top 8, I can't see them not going up.
Yeah. So in chat right now, Tyler, our editor, says that Sigmund, you've been really big on temples for a long time, and that a lot of people in chat were saying, hey, a lot of our locals don't have enough or any temples. And then I forget who it was last night on coverage, but it might have been Stanislav Sivka, who said the temples are the best cards in my deck. I don't recall who it was, but let's talk about those for a minute. Sig, why were you so big on them?
It's a trend that I've observed. I think, barring the shock lands, which were kind of a unique case, I always just noticed that the mana-fixing lands of the older block in Standard, when that rotation happens, they always tend to jump in price. And I love them so much because their downside risk is very small. And as a metagame evolves throughout the life of Standard, usually you see different color combinations being tested, and they all kind of share their 15 minutes of fame in the limelight. So you've got a good opportunity to sell all of them or most of them, and they just tend to dry up once they're not drafted anymore. People tend to hoard them, or they're using them more and more. I don't know what happens, but they tend to get harder to find in trade binders, and demand stays constant or even goes up at rotation if you lose some other mana-fixing lands from the previous block. And I just noticed that general trend. It happened with like Worldwake Manlands and Scars, Fast Lands, and Innistrad, Check Lands, and probably others. So that's essentially why I did it. And then when I found out that Khans was a shard block, and so it was 3 colors, gosh, I figured we're going to see lots of multicolored decks. So it just gave me more confidence. It wasn't anything related to the scry. I mean, I didn't care what the ability is, generally. I just like to buy the mana-fixing rare lands.
Fair enough. So it had nothing to do with the fact of what they did, just the fact that they were mana-fixing at rare in the format.
Yeah, essentially. I wish I had a more exciting answer than that. It's probably one of the more boring places because it's never going to go up like Dig Through Time did. I mean, you're never going to get a temple to go from $3 to $15 in a day. But it's really hard to lose money when you buy these mana-fixing lands at their bottom.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. Everyone, I think that there's very few things that every writer on our site agrees about. The only thing I think we all agree about is that if you want safe, predictable trades, just move through rare mana-fixing frequently.
Absolutely, and the only one that I don't have right now that I got rid of already was the Temple of Malady, the black-green one, because there was like a 1-week period where Star City was paying $8 for them. So I figured, okay, $8 is pretty good. I just shipped them all, and it ended up being the right choice. But I have a bunch of them, and I wish I had more of of like Epiphany and the stuff from the second two sets in the Theros block, but I still think the Theros ones are fine too. I mean, they all get so much play. Now, one other topic that is kind of in line with this is, what about Mana Confluence? I hear almost nothing about that card. I actually got rid of my copies.
I've heard absolutely nothing about it, but I've seen it here and there. I feel like the card is just... It's got the potential to be a staple, especially in like 5-color control style decks. Whether or not those come to pass is a different story, but I feel like other decks can afford to get away with running the right mix of fetch and pain and scry lands. Like, the ability to tap a pain land for colorless and not lose life is very, very important.
Huge, and I think that's a major drawback for Mana Confluence.
Agreed. There's a certain kind of deck that wants it to be the reflecting pool, but I don't think we've found that deck yet.
Can you bring up the Mana Confluence on the MTG stocks chart? I'd love to see the trend, because that thing jumped pretty high when we found out Khans was a shard-based set, and I actually was all about Mana Confluence. I thought it was going to be great, and then after seeing the first Star City Open results, and it was like all temples, all fetch lands. People were even playing the tri lands that come into play tap over Mana Confluence, and that's when I realized, no, this may not get there. And at the price that it hit, the upside was even small.
So the chart is really interesting because from the pre-sale price at 20, it dropped to 1750, and then slowly decayed and leveled off in the $10 to $12 range. Then in late August, it seems, when people found out about Khans, it jumped up real quick and has been steadily climbing back to that 1750 level where it hit right as the set got released. So
I don't see it going higher from there anyway, right?
Yeah, like $15 seems correct and a bit high for this card. It's a super powerful effect, obviously, but there's so much good mana fixing that it's not a 4-of staple in every deck in the format. Like, there's so many other ways to get the same effect with a little more versatility.
Well, here's a question for you. So, what set do you think was open more, Journey in the Nyx or M14?
I actually have no idea.
I ask because I compare this to Mutavault, which was in many different Tier 1 decks. That card merited a higher price tag than $17.50.
We can math it out. Let's look at the release dates of the two sets, and then the release dates of the sets after them. So, and figure out how many weeks they were in standard, or in draft. Because it's hard
tricky though.
Go ahead.
M14 was triple M14, right? And
yeah.
Yeah. That's the second part of the equation, is how many packs were drafted.
Yeah.
I would go out on a limb, and so Journey came out like end of May, I feel like. No, Pro Tour Journey into Nyx was like May 18th, so it came out beginning of May. Is that correct?
It should show on it shows right here on the chart.
I know that locally, once M15 came out, or once M14 came out, people stopped doing the block drafts, and they did the core set draft all the way up until the fall rotation.
Oh wait, wasn't Conspiracy in there, or was that?
Oh yeah, Conspiracy also maybe constricted M15 more than M14.
Oh, so that was
Possibly.
with M15.
That's a good point.
Oh, it's so confusing.
I would still venture to guess that Journey was open less because of the 3 packs versus 1 pack phenomenon.
So, I mean, I think that the upside would have been there for Mana Confluence. It's just not seeing a whole lot of play.
Well, yeah, I don't know that if it has any more room to grow at the $15 to $17 range. You probably got in below 12. Like, if you have them and you're going to play with them, keep them. If you have them and you're not going to play with them, or you've got extra, sell them and put your money into something that has more than 15% more upside.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The opportunity cost is something people fail to consider.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And just if opportunity cost might be a phrase not known to some people, it just means what you could have done with the money instead. Like, yeah, you could have a playset of mana confluences for $60, or you can cash those out and forego maybe going those up to $70, and instead put that $60 into 60 Pearl Lake Ancients. So it's one of those one of those bankroll and the time machine. One of those bankroll management things that I don't think gets talked about enough. Like, what's the right play for the amount of money you can put into Magic? Like,
well, and here's the other thing. The ultimate goal of what we're doing is trying to be able to play this game more and better and for less money. So, I mean, if you got your dig through times at $1.50 and you're going to play them, are you going to sell them and then wait for them to drop, or are you going to play them? I mean, if we're getting into this to be playing for less money and enjoying our cards more, then the ultimate goal is to be able to play with the cards you have.
I still think you sell your dig through times this weekend and then buy them back in 2 weeks, unless you have to play with them in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The question is,
I don't think it's real sad to be at a point where you're looking at your standard deck and you're like, this is worth too much money for me to play with, because we all want to be doing this so that we can play this game, and that's, I mean, playing Magic is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, your practice has value too. For going to, those 4 rounds with dig through time means every other round you play with dig through time, you're going to be a little bit worse at it.
Mm-hmm.
You have a little bit less experience. That compounds too. So maybe now's the time to really be playing with them. It really depends what your goals are.
And you don't
unique situation.
Like, you don't want to be the guy, and maybe you do, but you don't want to be the person who's like, I keep making money hand over fist at Magic, but I still keep playing budget decks at Friday Night Magic, and I keep losing, and I'm not enjoying myself, but I sure keep making money at this game.
So the way I see it is, if you want to get the best of both worlds, and this is something I have had to deal with as a trader and as a player, at some points selling cards professionally, at other points trying to play semi-professionally. That did not work out, by the way, obviously. That's why I'm here. So what I came up with is really simple, and Doug, we talked about this a bit last night. Buy 2 play sets of everything, and time it so that you can sell and buy through your second play set while building your actual usable play set for the lowest possible price. Like, just try to subsidize your playing play set with your flipping and trading and grinding play set. Like, keep that second set of dig through times in your binder and trade them out when it's opportune into something that you don't have any of yet.
Yeah, and learn how to walk away from a profit. That's good too. In chat right now, Mario Aaron 64 brings up that he said he sold his coursers and caryatids and stuff going up, and he still made a profit on them. That's what we like too. Like, if you're not going to be using it right now, get out, make your profit, and don't I guess you can wager between what you have set in the card already. Because if you don't have much money in it, I guess you can let it ride a whole lot. But I mean, Courser was maybe $10 when you could pick it up, and has gone up to $19. So I can see wanting to get out there and say, I'm going to lock in my profit. I'm going to get out. I'm going to hold this money as cash on hand for the next time a dig through time or a Pearl Lake Ancient shows up, and I'm going to enjoy it when it happens.
Ari Lax is still crushing it. Good for him.
Yeah, he's someone to watch.
I heard some people trashing Ari in chat for not being a nice person or something, but I can say that every interaction I've had with him has been extremely pleasant. We played some of my vintage cube together, and he was, he had a lot of fun killing me with like killer bees or something like that.
Yeah, he's actually a very enjoyable opponent, and
so like, really, I don't know what people were going on about when they were
Ari's a guy. I like Ari a lot. Ari, when you interact with the person, you get the sense about whether they're willing to listen to you and your ideas. And Ari was willing to listen to me and talk to me, versus just like, okay, I'm trying to wrap this up and get out of here as soon as I can. So I like Ari. I met him chatted with him a couple times. He's a good person. Yeah,
Kelly, I think that you just have to discount the armchair quarterbacks at home, and I don't know. Like, if someone has an actual something of substance to say, an example of something. That,
I think it was like the last match of the match before. He was playing against I don't recall the guy's name, but I didn't have the audio on, but someone in the chat goes, "Wow, that was extremely rude," or like that was really uncalled for or something.
Yeah, well, welcome to the Pro Tour. Yes.
Yeah, like leave your thin skin behind.
Yeah, exactly, because John Finkel doesn't have very thin skin.
Yeah. No, like John is very, very one of the most polite people I've ever met. Like I had
very
dinner with him
humble.
back in New York a number of years ago, and just like watching him interact with the wait staff he was just really polite with them, like to the extent that most people never are. And like if anybody should have swagger, I think it's John, but he just doesn't. And I don't know. Yet still, he shows up at the Pro Tour and sits across from you. He's not going to be like super friendly and chat you up. He's here to play his game. So I think people who aren't in that seat have an unreasonable expectation of like what their opponents should or shouldn't do.
I mean, I know that Ari Lax likes to talk and like joke around when he plays, and maybe he ribbed his opponent. Who knows?
You also have to understand that, like, if you're a person who has a name that people recognize, and I was at some point in Legacy when I wrote for Star City, that people will talk to you who you don't know, and if you're up for that and you're primed and you're great, like you can gear in and it's really uplifting for both people. But sometimes it's like, man, I just went 0-3. The last thing I want to do is talk to you about your deck. Like, I just want to get out of here, and people can have bad interactions that way.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever been rude to people, but I think I've definitely had the points where it's like this is a 5-minute conversation that's stretched into a 10-minute conversation.
And imagine that for somebody else who's even more famous than you.
Mm-hmm.
Someone like Brian Kibler signing cards every time he turns around.
Yeah, I don't know that I would ever use the F word to describe me, but
yeah, I said it in jest.
Yeah, I think Brian Kibler's incredibly gracious. I think he's a wonderful person to have on the in the game and on the Pro Tour, because
absolutely.
He's so good to like the 12-year-old nobodies who idolize him.
Dude, when I saw him at a Grand Prix, there was go ahead, sorry.
I would say, guys, is there a morphin playing Standard? That's all.
Oh my god.
It is 100% a Rattleclaw Mystic, right? No, it's from Jeskai.
Yeah, so let's play Name That Morph. What is it?
It is an Ash Cloud Phoenix. That is my 100%.
Oh, okay, there you go.
It is an Ash Cloud Phoenix.
Sounds like Kelly was good. Sounds like you had an interesting story, Kelly.
When we were talking about Brian, just to follow up on the fact that he's a gentleman and a scholar, this was back a number of years ago. I had written or said something regarding finance and pro deck lists, and it seemed to rub him the wrong way. Like, it was towing that difficult line between, like, I have information and I want to report it to people. But this is also, like, I understand that you don't necessarily want your deck list somehow getting scooped because I overheard you buying cards from a dealer. So I had said something, and we had a brief back and forth online that was a bit contentious. But then I saw him at the event, and I didn't know if he'd like recognize me. So I introduced myself, and I said, "I just want to let you know I totally get your position, and I respect it. I didn't want to come off as being argumentative. I just want to explain to you that I'm in this position where I want to respect the players who we idolize so much and the viewers who want to get this information, that I have to toe that line. And like, if I offended you, I'm sorry. Talk to me about what you think is appropriate decorum here, and we can incorporate that." And he gave me some ideas, and he said ultimately it's fine, just like if you do get information in confidence, you should probably keep it. Like, I know for a fact that one of the people who we have scouting for us knew a few things about a pro's deck, but he was told specifically by that player the information, and he was also told that the condition of receiving the information was don't talk about this until Saturday. And the information didn't end up being financially relevant in the least, but still, like, we have to play that game, and when the pros understand that they need to help us respect their secrecy or lack thereof, that goes a long way. And he totally got it, and he was super friendly with me, and that just really impressed me.
Yeah, and we respect embargoes on QS too. If somebody says like you can talk about this, but don't mention who gave it to you, and don't mention it until standard starts, we respect that.
Yeah, as a journalist, Corbin has to do what he's, needs to do to protect his integrity.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just Corbin; it's anybody. Like we get information from tons of people. Corbin, if for people who are listening, he's actually on site for Wizards of the Coast. So there are going to be situations where like he's given advanced knowledge of something with an embargo, and that's completely fine. It's unlikely that he's going to be the only person who knows something relevant, and if it's important enough and trickles through the grapevines enough times, we'll synthesize it, and the listeners and the readers will find out about it.
Yeah, you just at the end of the day, you want nobody to have bad feelings about things.
Yeah, like we're all just trying to play Magic without burning our retirement or beer money fund. Like that's what it comes down to. These guys are playing for tens of thousands of dollars. We're trying to make a couple bucks.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, it's not
they're
like
doing the hard work here.
Feeling like the burglary of the Watergate Hotel here.
Seriously.
So, an update on Pearl Lake Ancient. It is now completely bought out of TCG Player. Below, it looks like there's nothing below 575, and there's 12 copies at 575, 20 at 590, and then from there 850, 1299, 14 at plus.
There's no way my orders are getting filled, and I put them through over a day ago. We shall see. This Asban charm, I just keep seeing it, and I keep looking at it and going, "Hey, is that the Eye of Sauron?" But this is one of those uncommons. Doug, was this in your write-up? The email you sent to insiders about possible big uncommons?
I was a dog on Abzan Charm. I'm still not totally impressed by it. Teamer Charm feels like the best, but Teamer Charm isn't seeing play because Teamer's not seeing play. But like Mana Leak, Falter, and whatever the third ability is, you don't even need a third ability on that card. I like Jeskai Charm a lot too. 4 damage is really useful, but we didn't mention Abzan Charm. I think the thing with the charms is that they all are a high enough price that they don't justify buying a whole lot of because people want them for all their casual decks and all their cubes and all their EDH decks. So the charms are already at a price that's respectable.
And those are going to be open more and more and more. I'm not sure that.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure that an uncommon is a great place to be buying, but I would certainly be getting them in trades for cheap. And if you have a way to out them at a good price, I think they might be valuable. But I don't think there's very much upside.
I think the charms are you just walk around after your FNM draft.
Exactly.
I think you actually aggressively just try to get boxes upon boxes of them.
Yeah, I think I wrote that in one of my first articles around the rotation. Is that's the exact card that I'm going to try to keep in a box for a number of years, and it's going to go up eventually.
So Tyler
whether it be 6 months or 6 years.
Yeah, I love versatile cards like this at Uncommon. So in Twitch chat here, we have a question from Mario Around 64. Says Card Kingdom will still pay you $46 for Liliana of the Veil, or $60 in store credit. Now, bearing in mind that they just announced a reprint of Liliana for the Regional Pro Tour door prize, everyone gets one. He's asking, would it be worth it to trade them in to card credit for $60 in store credit for something more secure like, say, Shocklands? Or I would say maybe Temples.
I think you trade it into something that gives you velocity.
Like
the thing you trade it in, if you really want to cash out Liliana, you cash it in something that you can like I traded for this week. I know I can get rid of it. I can get advantage out of it. I can keep moving it on. I feel like if you're holding Liliana for a long-term bet, Liliana will eventually rise above the price it is now. I mean, the risk is that Modern Masters 2 is going to come out, and that's a personal decision for everybody. to determine whether they think that Liliana of the Veil will be in Modern Masters 2. I think there is a high chance of it being in there, even with it being in these RPTQs. So I don't like it as a long-term hold.
I don't see any basis for a long-term hold. They just showed that they were willing to reprint it in foil and mass. They are foil reprints, right?
Apparently they are foils, yes.
Sweet. I wonder if it's going to be alternate art.
They showed a picture of it, and it looked exactly the same.
Okay. I didn't know if it was just a stock image, because they may not have...
No, and it had like the star promotional sort of symbol.
Yeah,
believe.
okay. Well, I just checked Card Kingdom. They are completely out of stock of Pearl Lake Ancients. I was going to say, hey, if you can trade in your Veils for 60, go buy 60 Pearl Lake Ancients, but they're done there.
Yeah, that card... I think this is a buyout that's going to quickly fall back down to some level, but it's not going back to $1.
No.
I think that your 16 Pearl Lake Ancients were a great move, Kelly.
Thank you. I just checked, and one of my orders for 8 was shipped without tracking. The other has not been confirmed yet.
All right, there you go.
But hey, you know what? I got 8 confirmed for $8.83, and then 7 not confirmed for $7.43. So I'll take those. Those are good prices. We'll see what buy list goes up to. That's what I care about. You know what can I immediately turn these around and flip them for?
Yeah, I've actually been getting into getting some collections lately.
Yeah?
I picked up a couple collections in the last month.
Where do you find your collections?
I've been using Craigslist.
Really? Where are you still in Columbus?
I'm in Cleveland area.
Cleveland, sorry. It's all Ohio to me. So you're finding that Craigslist is a good source of collections?
Yeah. Also, it seems like Facebook. I actually picked up one of every Scryland. Sigmund would have liked to hear that. One of every Scryland from a local guy on a Facebook group. There's like a local Facebook group with information on local tournaments, and people do a little bit of trading and selling.
Sweet.
And I found some opportunities there too.
So when you buy a collection, do people ever give you like a spreadsheet of what's in it?
Yeah, I actually one of the recent ones, someone had written out all of their cards and the values and what they wanted, and we negotiated from there, and that was pretty helpful. It seems like on Craig.
Did you
go ahead.
Were you aware of the Trader Tools spreadsheet import feature?
Oh, an actual like Excel spreadsheet. No, I have seen that on Trader Tools. I haven't used it, but that's actually a really good piece of advice that I should try out, because I've seen people use spreadsheets on their Craigslist ads. They'll go through all their cards, and I found that a lot of times those aren't necessarily the collections you want to buy, because when they have a really good idea of what they have, they a lot of times will be attached to it and want too much for it.
True.
But that'd be a really quick way to compare the spreadsheet to Trader Tools and see if it's worthwhile without actually having to go through it card by card.
Yeah, I've used it to import a list that somebody wanted to sell me, and it was just so crazy watching.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It just parsed the whole list, and then I said, okay, how could you sell this? What could you buy this for right now? And it actually, I had the cards in the buy list carts of Adventures On, ABU Games, and Card Kingdom before I had even replied to the guy's email about whether or not I was interested.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is absolutely something I'll check out, and I'll let you know if that works out for me. I'll let you know how that experience goes.
Yeah, definitely. I haven't really publicized it yet because it still needs some tuning, but it's live. We just haven't really been pushing it. We do that a lot. Like, we have features that are in various stages of testing that we link them here and there so people get a sense of the fact that they exist, but we're not going to put them front and center on the homepage until we want to have every user on our site using it every day.
Yeah, there's a good community of people that are perfect people to test that out, and they're people who are actually going to be using it, and they're going to be using it to put their money where their mouth is. It's definitely not a joke. It's a serious tool for some serious business people, and casual players, anyone.
Well, yeah, what I really like is that if you've got your collection on something like Deckbox or Tapped Out, and you want or Decked Builder, the Android and iPhone app, you can export from those platforms and with little or no extra work, push it into Trader Tools, and
Yeah.
that lets people. I want to make people aware of the fact that their collection is worth money, and I don't mean that in the abstract sense. I mean that in the sense of you could put this in an envelope, and in 3 to 5 days you will have money in your PayPal account or a check in the mail. Like, I want people to understand that their cards are much more liquid than they realize, and I want people to start thinking about liquidity. People don't think about that. They think, oh, well, I have this card, it's good on paper, I made money on paper. No, like, you need to cash out your cards in order to have a profit.
So one thing I wanted to bring up was that Mark Pomerantz brought this up, I think, in IRC yesterday, and I hope it was him. Otherwise, he's getting to absorb this credit. But I think it was him. He had said that somebody had asked, like, how do you buy 100 of a card on TCG Player when they're being sold out? And he said the way he does it, and it was so gracious of him to share this. He said you go to the back last pages of TCG Player listings for that card, so i.e. the most expensive. You add all those to your cart. You're not going to buy those, but what you do is you have all those in your cart. You have like 100 copies of a card. Then you hit Optimizer. It pulls up the cheapest versions of that for you. You immediately remove everything under $1 and hit Buy, and you can get large volumes of cards that way. Because when you're adding stuff at the end of the pages, you know they're not disappearing from your cart on you. And when you use the optimizer, you know it's immediately going to rip through and find all the cheapest ones for you.
So I actually have some even more next level tech for this. And I didn't want to share this because I think it's awesome. But, why not? I'll actually...
This is special. This is a special night.
Yeah, so why is this night different from all other nights? So...
There's a Pro Tour.
There's a Pro Tour. Mazel tov. So there's a two-part process. One of them... I use one, the other, or both. One of them, TCG Player has a bulk import feature, where one night I was on the phone with a friend, one of the advisors to the site actually, and we were talking about how Crucible of Fire M15 is worth actual nothing, and Crucible Fire Shards of Alara is worth like $2 or $3. And so he goes, I would love to buy a ton of Crucibles of Fire. And I go, well, let me show you. So we went to TCG Player, we entered something retarded like 1,000 Crucible of Fire into their bulk lookup tool, and it literally populated our shopping cart with 1,000 copies. So we ran it through the optimizer, and we removed everyone that didn't have either... We only took play sets where the shipping was really, really cheap, and we tried to get people who had 8 or more copies. So that is one way we did it. And we just added so many more to our cart than we possibly wanted to buy, expecting that things might, maybe fall out of the cart or change. But using that bulk import is one way of doing it. The second one, and this is really sneaky. If you go to TCG Player and you look on the left-hand side of their search, they have some filters. And one of them is show quantity 4 or greater. Except here's the thing. I'm not interested in 4 or greater. I want to see people who have 16 of something in stock. And this is what makes it sneaky. You can do this in almost any modern web browser. If you right-click on that link and you hit View Source, you'll see a little line of code in which the number 4 appears. Change that to 16 and then click the Limit 4 button. It'll limit by 16 instead. I don't think anybody realizes that you can change the number of the minimum quantity above 4. And when I'm looking, I don't want to dig through people who have 3 copies in stock. Show me people who can fill a 50 card order among 2 or 3 dealers. That saved me a ton of time.
That's pretty incredible. I'm playing around with that right now.
Yeah, there's a lot you can do if you get creative and you know a little bit about how web sites and apps are built. And none of this is like black hat stuff. You know, if they didn't want us to do this, then they could have obscured that ability through code. But it's probably not important to them. It's not a big deal for us. So when you're in this, when you're in an information game where like time matters and efficiency matters, you really start to look for strange ways to get advantages in your sort of procedural work. You know, optimize shipping a little bit, optimize search a little bit. But okay, I've got a question in chat from Maximum Magic 78. What are your thoughts on Pearl Lake Ancient? It's a very open-ended question, but considering that it's been the go ahead.
That card was graded $1. And that ship has sailed. That card is not graded $5.
Yeah, that ship is like halfway across to the other side of Pearl Lake by
Here's
now.
the thing to remember. Pearl Lake Ancient just kick ass in the hands of Owen the Enchanter. Blue-black control has lost the last 6 or 7 times on camera before that. I mean, that deck is not the place you want to be at right now.
It's a good example of what Pearl Lake can do, but that's not its... That's it. He's visiting in the blue-black lake. He will find a home somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. People are going to start seeing that card as a real card now, and it's going to be applied in a variety of archetypes. It might even be a card people could reanimate. It's a card people could pour into Jeskai Tempo if they wanted to go big. It's a card that we saw Uiso could have used with his green mana acceleration. It's a card that's on the radar now.
Which it should have been.
And
I was brewing last week, looking at decks that in which I could use Empty the Pits. I was just saying, what else can I do at instant speed on someone's end step to just give them the business? And I came across Pearl Lake Ancient, and this is when I thought it was a rare. I was like, huh, that's pretty solid dollar rare. I mean, it also bears mentioning this. I know I'm gonna get hell for this, but you know, Kiara's ultimate does bounce things that aren't Leviathans, right? Or no, that's Whelming Wave. Kiara's ultimate makes Leviathans. Whelming Wave, which no one has talked about in a while, you can go end step Pearl Lake Ancient, untap Whelming Wave, deal with me. Pump your Pearl Lake Ancient with the Whelming Wave. So that might be
that's
a
card
level no one's even operating on yet. Like, this might be the most playable Leviathan ever printed. A phrase I never thought I'd be uttering. What about Rakshasa Death Dealer?
that card is the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very good role player. I mean, it's like having Riverboa in your deck. You're never going to be thrilled about having that guy there, but it's always going to be solid.
That's a good comparison to Riverboa. I compared it to Nantuko Shade.
I
You
like
compared
that
it
comparison a lot.
to Riverboa. I think it's a comparison to both. It's a mana sink that you could sink your mana into dealing a couple damage at a time to finish them off a lot more quickly than you would think, and then you also have regeneration to give you that persistent, hard to deal with inevitability sort of threat.
Let's talk about late game. This thing comes down turn 6, turn 7, turn 8.
Yeah.
We all understand that you play it on turn 2 and you've got a Grizzly Bear, but like you play this on turn 8 when you're both in a top deck war. Let's go through the number of cards that you look at and you go, wait, can't kill it with this one. Like Sarkhan, nope, 2 mana regenerates it. Stoke the Flames, 2 mana regenerates it. Hero's Demise, regenerate it. You know, like try to blow me out in combat, pump, regenerate.
Yeah. Abzan Charm is really...
Vault clears it out.
What's that?
It is unfortunate that Perilous Vault clears it out, but
Perilous
I
Vault
do.
clears everything out, though.
Sometimes you land that guy on turn 2 and you just ride it a couple turns.
Yeah, I heard a great. I think I heard this from a chess player, who was explaining that the threat of pressure is more important than pressure itself. Like,
Yes.
and I'm not a chess player, but I think in Magic, I try to teach a new player, like, you can attack with this creature with a pump ability, and I won't block because of the pump ability, but because I don't block, that means you can now spend your mana on something else. So you get tremendous value by just the ability to say, I could pump this, and just keep whacking him for two.
Yeah, Kelly, you're honing in on a key tenet of competitive Magic. Yeah, that what you're talking about, the threat of doing something, that is really what defines high-level play and good cards. And
yeah,
that's a tremendous card. I mean, you can't block that with Courser in a practical sense. You can't block that with Courser.
No, it comes down a turn earlier than Courser, and it smashes through all those little green guys.
You don't have to pay your 2 mana to realize that advantage. They take 2, and then you use that 2 mana for something else, but you still got through that Courser.
Yeah, you leave it up to regenerate it if you have to. Like, the only card that deals with this is Utter End, which is, what, a 4-mana card?
Yeah, Abzan Charm exiles it, I believe.
I would like to note, by the way, that Andres Reski has a Hushwing Gryff in play, which is the first time I've seen that in play at this Pro Tour.
Whoa.
Playing against Abzan with the idea that I suppose you shut down things like Siege Rhino and Hornet Queen. Obviously, the Torpor Orb with flying is pretty good there.
I have not heard anyone talking about that card since it came out. It's cheap.
Yeah, so he clearly uses at least 3 of them, and I've heard a little bit of talk on that card. It seems like a fine pickup for Standard if it's cheap right now. It's probably worth.
I put the price up on the display, and I'm going to pull off the
about $1.40. You know, Adam, it reminds me about how in some matches of Modern you run Vendilion Click because it has a disruptive effect on, like, you board it in. And in some matches of Modern you board in Vendilion Click because it's a 3/1 flyer and you know your opponent can never beat that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this ties directly in with the talk about a lot of this format happens at instant speed. And the things that don't happen at instant speed are not fair cards. They're cards like Pelucranos, Mantis Rider, which is still quasi-instant speed because of haste. Like, the things that don't happen at instant speed are bomb-tastically powerful, so the things that do happen at instant speed are going to help define how decks respond to that. Because, like, if I can give up mana for Hushwing Gryff while dissolving your dig through time, like, your dig through time gets countered, then you play some thing with an Enter the Battlefield ability, I counter that, and I've got a 2/1 flyer that hits you in the face next turn.
And in that situation, it would have hit his Planeswalker, too. If he wouldn't have had Stoke the Flames, it could have attacked that Planeswalker and used the flying advantage.
Oh, yeah. You know, in Hornet Queen for 7 mana for a 2/2 Death Touch is a real underwhelming.
Yes, it is.
Well, it's like you cast the Gryff, counter the Hornet Queen's ability, and then it can trade with the Queen itself.
And another thing that I see people do in Modern with Aven Mindcensor in particular is they want to hold that thing to stop a fetch land, and I've seen people hold that for 3 or 4 turns in a row, hoping to catch an opponent, when they could have benefited from the 6 to 8 damage it would deal.
Yeah.
With Hushwing Gryff, you roll that out, end of turn whenever you can, and then you just be like, hey, in case you were planning on doing stuff, this will shut it down. Like, I'm not going to be tapping.
Like, it feels great to catch them paying 7 mana for a 2/2 that you're about to trade with, but it feels even better to just, like, cast a 2/1 flyer on their end step and just start smacking them around with it. By the time they still have to... The Hushwing Gryff still torpor orbs the board when it's been out for 5 turns, smacking you across the face. Like, just because they can't... they'll keep it in their hand and it won't be dead. So when the Gryff dies, they can recast it. But, like, by then you probably have drawn another one or a counter spell or something to deal with it. Like, what are some other cards that Hushwing Gryff shuts down? Phyrexian Revoker. Can't name for Phyrexian Revoker.
I am not familiar enough with the rules to say one way or another on that, actually.
What is the question?
I'm trying to think of, like, what cards does Hushwing Gryff shut down?
I believe Revoker is an as enters play, and Hushwing Gryff is an if or when enters play.
If it's an as enters play, it's a replacement effect, not a triggered ability.
Yeah, it stops things that go on the stack, so it won't stop Clever Impersonator.
Right. Phyrexian Revoker, on the other hand, which I did. That was in Todd Anderson's deck because of what was it? The
Yeah,
Dancing
that's a
Scissors.
good card. Yeah, that's a good card.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rulings right now, and Phyrexian Revoker. I think it says as it enters the battlefield, which is a replacement effect, not a triggered effect, and so Hushman Griff does not stop it.
I mean, if you're playing it and all your plan is like you lose to Hornet Queen, so you play that, and you have a hard time with Siege Rhino, so you play that. I think that's still fine.
So, update on Pearl Lake Ancient. Card Kingdom is paying $1.60 for them, which is probably low considering what they're creeping up to. But I think if people ordered them yesterday and they get their orders filled, and if you ordered them early yesterday, then like you probably are going to. People who sent them out Friday evening didn't have any clue that this was happening. I'm not going to be surprised if my second order of 8 gets canceled, nor will I be terribly unhappy about it. But I think that people can expect to get their orders filled if they ordered yesterday, but not today. But yeah, the buy price is creeping up, so that's good news. Did we send out an insider alert about that one?
About
Sigmund mentioned that maybe you should. I don't think that you did. But it was probably too late at that point.
Oh, there's a lot of things that we were talking about in chat and on the podcast. So we kind of, first of all, we tried to leave a little bit of good stuff for that. But
yeah, that's
it's
true.
also hard that because when you've been talking about it and watching it for 2 hours, sometimes you don't realize that like maybe everyone else doesn't know what you know. Which definitely happened a little bit last night, and this is a format we're still getting used to. This was literally an idea we had. I had it on the way home from getting coffee, like yesterday, early afternoon. I called Doug. I go, "Hey, we should do a podcast." And then we sat down and we realized we could do these video overlays. And so we tried to work that in with our forums chat, our forums posting, and our insider alert system. So we're still trying to figure this all out, and we're hoping that people are going to give us some feedback on what they'd like to see next time.
The chat on Friday was awesome.
Yeah, the
was
chat
that on
or the
Thursday
podcast?
night?
It was the Q&A was on Thursday, I think.
Yeah, the Q&A pre-Pro Tour chat I think was pretty cool.
Yeah, I like that.
A lot of people stayed even afterwards for hours and talked.
Yeah, we have a great community here. We
will definitely be doing that again.
And you know, the more people tune in, we've got a pretty good viewership right now. Lots of people are tuning in and checking this out. The more people check this out and the more people follow us, you know, definitely click the follow button on Twitch here. The more we'll do this. And we've got a lot of great people on the QS team who can trade off hosting. But I think that this is something we could do more frequently than once every Pro Tour. And it might not take the same form as like real-time coverage, but just as even a weekly pod/video cast. I have a question in chat. Which website is that with the charts? The chart on the top left is coming from our friends at MTG Stocks. The on the right is Quiet Speculations Trader Tools. MTG Stocks is good for historical prices. Trader Tools is better for looking at various avenues to buy and sell the cards. We work close with MTG Stocks. They're our buddies, and they have a pretty good site set up over there, and everything there is free to use. So we totally suggest people use it. We have questions in the chat about Planeswalkers, Chandra, Sorin, Jace, Sarkhan, and we should expand. I think we expand that discussion to all the Planeswalkers. But Adam, when cons came out, what did you think of the Planeswalkers and cons in M15, just in the current standard format? Which one catches your eye the most?
I think that the world's pretty hostile to Planeswalkers right now. Mantis Rider, all the burn spells, some other flyers, like Hornet Queen. Patrick Chapin wrote an article that sort of mentioned that Planeswalkers are under attack. So that's why I think Planeswalkers like Kiora are a little bit unimpressive. I think that Planeswalkers that a little bit more resilient and that impact the board in a more permanent way. So I think Sarkhan is probably the premier Planeswalker right now. We saw on camera again and again how many times it just killed the opponent. We saw the ultimate be relevant, and then of course it's been compared to Flame Tongue Kavu as a removal spell.
Oh, man, it's so much better than Flame Tongue Kavu. Oh my god.
And then I think that Elspeth, I don't know how much we've seen it.
A lot.
I think that's still... Have we? I think that's still one of the top Planeswalkers around, if not the best Planeswalker. One of the better cards in the format, and something
She defines...
we're going to see a lot of going forward.
Elspeth sort of defines what an entire class of decks want to be doing at that mana cost, and I think that she defines then what answers get played. So I don't know that there's a lot of money left in Elspeth, but there's definitely money to be made figuring out how other people are going to try to beat Elspeth or try to find new synergies with her.
And then Chandra Pyromaster, I don't think it's that impressive if people aren't playing a lot of X1 creatures, but as a card advantage source, it's decent, and it also kills the opponent slowly. So I think that's a decent one, but it might be more of a sideboard card or more of a niche card. For example, burn decks. And then beyond that, Ashiok, we haven't seen
Yeah, we haven't heard anything from Ashiok.
too much of. I think Ashiok's still hanging out, and we'll still see some more of that. Sometimes.
Pyromaster is cheap. For a Planeswalker.
Yeah, I think that it's been printed twice now. I think that has kept it down.
Other versions. Hang on. I can pull up other versions. Yeah, just
it's
Magic
M14.
2014, Magic 2015. But, yeah, I guess it's... The +1 doesn't impress me. It's very, very versatile, but, like... You need to activate
It just does very
three-
little.
Yeah, you need to activate it 3 times to get to the ultimate, and the ultimate is probably still not going to outright win you the game.
Yeah, I think that Xenagos is pretty great, but it's kind of vulnerable to Mantis Rider and Burn. But I think Xenagos is a pretty nice one, pretty powerhouse card.
Yeah, I was really impressed with some of the things Xenagos could do. I put him in a Courser shell, and this was pre-fetch lands too. But, I mean, man, those 2/2 satyrs with haste...
Yes, and then
That's
also
that's the real deal.
it is, and also the mana. Sometimes you could kind of play it for free if you have mana acceleration, and then say you play Courser turn 2, and then you could play Xenagos and get some mana out of it. Because if you have 4 creatures, you're literally just going to play it for free.
Yeah,
And it's a crazy tempo play.
yeah, and they're
Kind of like,
Go ahead.
it's almost comparable to playing a Jace and bouncing their creature. If you can play a Xenagos and then play a creature of your own, that's the best possible thing you could be doing.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Xenagos the Planeswalker, along with the God, but I have not even heard a single mention of him on coverage in chat anywhere this weekend. And
Yeah, I think Red Green was a level 1 sort of deck, maybe even level 0. The base deck, I think the Pro Tour would kind of probably attacked it in ways that we might not really see. The metagame might be hostile for it, and I'm sure that moving forward after the Pro Tour that we'll see that card or some green-red base deck in some capacity
yeah,
as the metagame evolves. Because as we saw last year, it took a number of weeks before the metagame actually stabilized with mono black at the top. It was sort of kind of the least presence of the other decks, and it was overshadowed by Wafo Tapo's control deck and the Blue Devotion deck, and we might see something like that happen this Pro Tour. We'll have to keep watching.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that we're gonna see anything from like Ashiok or Xenagos yet. We've talked about Elspeth. Do we want to talk about any of the Jaces?
I think Jace of the Living Guild pack could be good in some sort of Delve deck or a Sidisi deck, but beyond that, I'm really not sure.
We just got a bunch of new people hopping on the stream here. Welcome. Thanks for stopping in, guys. Adam, I think your star appeal is just pulling people from near and far.
Yeah.
Not to mention the dulcet tones of Doug's soothing baritone. Jace the Living Guild Pact.
Looking at the top 20 that they've put up right now, Mike Sigrist is at the top of the standings. He's running Abzan aggro. Arielax coming up there. Sean McLaren is running blue, white, red, Jeskai. Tempo, Burn, maybe a little bit more of the latter than the former. Even Floka's running blue, black control, so to the best of my knowledge, so I believe that we'll be seeing maybe another run at Pearl Lake Ancient. Andre Strasky was running Hushwing Griff recently, we just saw, and unfortunately we lost the chart. We are back to Rich Hagon, so I can't comment a little bit more on that, but we are looking at the foundation of the top 8 being created right now. Remember that there's a total of 16 rounds before the cut to the top 8. Players are at 12 and 2 right now, I believe, is where Sigrist was, so that means that we're moving into the 15th round. We only have 2 more rounds to go. Players can draw in at that point. They can go X2-2, I believe, and make it in. The players can still make it in at X and 3, and X and 4 is a bit of a reach. But I think we should be seeing some handshakes come across the table in the next round or two.
Doug, is this Asban aggro list the one you were talking about for Sigrist?
That was the list that we had typed up yesterday.
Yeah, okay, I just put it up in the video here. It's just a quick embed of the article that we put on the front page. But this guy's a lock for top 8. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Let's see. What have we haven't talked. We've talked about. We haven't talked about Sorin as far as planeswalkers go. We talked about Rakshasa Death Dealer at length, and I think that if there is another deck that a different archetype in the top 8 that runs Rakshasa Death Dealer, we'll see that card tick up at least a buck
Absolutely.
or two. If we could have somebody do a little bit of research and figure out, are there any other Abzan lists running?
We should take.
Go ahead.
2 things. Someone should take down Brad Nelson's deck tech.
What? Right? I didn't write it down.
Yeah,
I will.
That was really awesome how we had that yesterday, because that Mike Sigrist deck list was not available after the stream. That was not posted on the website, to my knowledge.
That's why Doug and I stayed up till 2 a.m. doing this. Okay, I'm going to start transcribing Brad's list. I will let you guys continue podcasting. I'll be producing in the background. So you guys talk amongst yourselves. We have a question in chat about Nissa. What are we doing with Nissa? Maybe discuss that.
I think Nissa is really good. We've seen that in a lot of decks, not just mono green. And it can instantly make a 4/4, which effectively has haste. I actually compared it to Xenagos in an article I wrote. And that you can play it, immediately get some value, and start attacking them. And also it's a ramp spell, like Xenagos. So you can play it, untap some lands, get a rebate on your mana. So it's a tempo play. I think that all around it's really strong card. And I think we're going to keep seeing it as long as it's legal and standard. And then Sorin is excellent. There's 3 of them in Sigrist's Abzan aggro deck. And that's kind of proving that it's good and showing us how to use it to the fullest. You have to play it in an aggressive deck that has early creatures that are pressuring them, so you can take advantage of the lifelink bonus, and Seagrist deck accomplishes that with his multiple 2-drops. And then Brad's showing his tokens deck here. He uses 4 Monastery Swift Spear and 3 Seeker of the Way. I wonder what his record is.
Brad Nelson calls Monastery Swift Spear the best card in the deck, Goblin Rabble Master the worst card in the deck. I think Monastery Swift Spear is one of the best 1-drops I've ever seen in my life. And I don't know exactly what it's worth right now, but it's not as much as it should be. I'll pull it up on the overlay. Yeah, the question in the chat was, is Monastery Swift Spear better than Jackal Pup? And I say absolutely. Haste, man. Haste and Prowess in the 1-drop is scary stuff.
After the first attack, if you just attack with haste and then attack for 1, you've done 2 damage. So that's like 1 Jackal Pup attack. And then there's a lot of upside. So I don't think it's strictly better, but I think it's overall a better card. There's a reason we haven't seen Jackal Pup being played in Legacy, but Monastery Swift Spear was adopted the first week it was legal.
There goes that Hordling Outburst again. We talked about this a bunch on the podcast yesterday, and some people were like, really? I was like, yeah, really. This card is the best Goblin Token Maker ever printed. It's an uncommon. It's not the best card
in a world with,
ever, but like, go ahead.
In a world of 1-for-1 removal,
yeah,
pretty powerful. I mean, people can remember Spectral Possession, and this doesn't have flying, but
it has goblins, which is arguably almost as good. The only thing is it's terrible because of Bile Blight against Goblin tokens with Rabble Master.
So Magma Jet seems like it's been universally adopted by the Tempo decks as a 4-of.
Absolutely.
There's so much card manipulation in that deck. There's 4 Magma Jets, there's 8 Scry right there. There's 8 Scry lands. And then we have Dig Through Time. The deck really can select cards, and it almost reminds you of having Preordain. And that really makes that sort of deck viable. Because you can find those answers.
Shock? Sign me up, man.
Yeah.
We have a question about See the Unwritten, and I haven't heard anything about that since last night, so I'm not sure that any of the people running it are in contention for top 8. It's definitely a mythic I would keep my eye on.
Yeah, that is a good card.
Did they just say 1 Titan Strength and 4 Searing Blood?
I'm not sure. I actually have the coverage muted.
Okay.
Yeah, 3 Searing Blood, 1 Titan Strength, 4 Chain to the Rocks. I guess Chain to the Rocks is kind of a good reason to go straight red-white. I was trying to figure out why I don't want to play this deck instead of Jeskai Tempo, but it is a little bit more aggressive with this Monastery Swift Spear. You have Chain to the Rocks.
Yeah, I mean,
You have some more burn.
Swift Spear into Titan Strength Chain to the Rocks is a crap load of damage and removal on turn 2.
So then he boards into a control deck with End Hostility, Chandra, and Elska. We're seeing a lot of, transformations or role shifts in the sideboards of these standard decks.
I love it.
I think that's because it's such a deep format with so much high card quality. There's no lack of quality cards in a color, and it lets people actually sideboard like this and not sacrifice anything. And yeah, it's really awesome. This is definitely good Magic, this sort of sideboarding. It's not just throwing in,
the 4th copy of every removal spell.
4 Death Mark and 3 Engineered Plague.
It's creative, it's focused, and it's very, very powerful, most important.
Yeah, and it creates interesting gameplay, mind games, and
it's especially going into a Pro Tour where there's this information gap that players have to take into account. You're going to be looking for all these techie little cards coming out of the Boros Aggro deck sideboard. You're not going to expect when they have a slow start, you're thinking, I've got this game in the bag. No. You commit creatures, they blow you out with End Hostilities and some Planeswalkers.
Yes.
That is good magic right there.
Yeah, you bring in all of your creature removal. Turns out he cut his creatures for Planeswalkers.
You have no way to deal with the Planeswalkers somehow. I'm liking that these 1-life lands are seeing play. That seems like a really interesting dynamic to me.
Yeah, and actually, did you hear earlier? You could combo those with Pearl Lake Ancient and gain some extra life.
Oh god, Pearl Lake Ancient.
How you doing over there, Doug?
Alright, I'm going to put the deck list up very shortly.
So, there are a few more rounds left, and this will really define the top 8 and the future of Standard. Round 15 will begin. Okay, so we're going to see some draws now.
Yeah, they're taking a dinner break also.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, Rich just said they're taking a dinner break, which I think we should wrap up our conversation for now and do the same. Tyler asked in chat, is Sig still here? Sigmund is in an empty, heatless house because his gas heat broke and no one can fix it. And so he signed off for the night to go warm himself by an old oil can fire or something like a hobo.
Sounds dangerous.
Yeah, I don't actually think he's doing that. But anyway. Yeah, I think let's keep this going for a little while longer and maybe take some questions from the chat while they take a dinner break.
Wesco's probably dropping some knowledge right here.
Yeah, let's tune into that.
Wesco's looking comfortable in his Hawaii Pro Tour shorts. They gave those out at a Pro Tour a number of years ago. Maybe they gave out more this year.
I love 'em.
And they're trying to stabilize the planeswalkers and things like that. There's about 3 turns where if you get out in front of them, they have to have a card like Anger of the Gods or Drown in Sorrow, or they're just dead.
Okay, and then so how does that affect how you're going to build an aggro deck? Are you playing a completely different mana base from there? Are you not able to take advantage of those same lands?
Wesco is known for playing aggressive decks. He knows how to attack.
A lot of decks, you see the
And that's what he's discussing now.
Jeskai Tempo deck, where they don't have any 1-drops, but they have Seeker, Ray, Goblin Rabblemaster, or Gromaz.
Taking advantage of people coming to play tap lands and pain lands. Which is probably part of the reason that Jeskai Tempo has been so successful. People are taking some damage. Also fetch lands, too. And Mana Strider and Stoke the Flames go a long way when people only start at 20 life. And we're not seeing a ton of life gain.
Yeah, actually the most significant life gain I think I've seen has been Jeskai Charm in the lifelink mode.
Oh, interesting. Also Sorin. I'm sure that the lifelink was a big part of the Abzan Aggro's deck success.
Yeah, I think at one point, and I had seen that the Jeskai Tempo, or Tokens player rather, playing against Sean McLaren, he eventually lost, but he used a Jeskai Charm life gain to gain 6, 7 maybe life.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, it pulls you, when you're playing against a deck that is going to play dig through time and find a Stoke and or a Jeskai Charm and be able to threaten 8 life at you, then that's pretty gnarly. Good to be able to dig out of that burn range.
Yeah, it really is a nice aspect that should not be understated. I mean, considering that it does 4 damage, if you're gaining 4 life, you're sort of getting that rate. So even with just a Mantis Rider as a gain 4 life, it is relevant.
Absolutely.
Kelly, are there any questions in the chat?
Yeah. Thoughts on Anger of the Gods, End Hostilities, Perilous Vault, buy or sell? Let's start. Adam, where do you want to start there? Which card?
Perilous Vault. Let's start on that. Sell. Blue-black control hasn't done a whole lot. It's a sweeper. It's a fine sweeper. It's interesting. It's from base set, so it's got a little bit more scarcity there. But I mean, blue-black control was on screen for 8 rounds, and it lost 7 of those.
Yeah, that's pretty
savage. I'm not
savage.
thrilled by the card.
I think they're all pretty niche removal spells. Anger of the Gods obviously gets small creatures. Perilous Vault gets everything, which is sort of overkill, and it's also very expensive. And then End Hostilities is sort of middle. It's basically the sort of Wrath we're all accustomed to, but it's just a little bit more expensive than we've seen the last few years. So that extra point of mana actually makes it significantly worse, of course. And I think that's probably the place that I would want to be. End Hostilities is a nice card. We saw Brad Nelson board that. I don't think he had Anger of the Gods. That's because he was looking for a more powerful removal spell. I think End Hostilities is going to have a place in Standard. And if not this month, maybe next month, maybe next year. And then Anger of the Gods is going to be a pretty popular sideboard card. But if we don't see a lot of aggro decks in the format, then it's not going to be necessary.
Anger knocks out Mantis Rider, so that's relevant. I mean, I don't know if you want to be paying that, but I guess you're paying that if you're anyway.
It gets rid of Rabblemaster and everything it's made. It gets rid of Caryatid. It could deal with a Death Dealer that's tapped out. Deals with Policeman Lion. It's a very strong card. But if we're not seeing a bunch of aggressive decks filled with 1-drops, 12 1-drop aggro or something, then that card's not going to be ideal. Same goes for Drown in Sorrow.
Real quick, I finished typing up the Brad Nelson deck list, and Tyler is about to post it in chat, which he just did. If you see any errors, omissions, corrections, let me know and I will fix them, but I believe I transcribed it accurately.
It looks to me, looking at the blue black controllers this weekend, like they were designed to, drown in sorrow, file break, to clean up a bunch of little creatures. Yes. But how do you start dealing with like people who are putting out one big meaty threat after another, letting you deal with them one to one?
Again, you just need to find your masters. In my deck, it's Council, for example, and
Ivan Flock. I recognize him from Magic Online. He used to play Magic Online under the name Matuliak V for a number of years. He's someone who knows what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely.
I do like both anger and end hostilities. I think that they have a chance to at least double. I don't think that they ever break the $5 to $8 range. Going back to what we were talking about, I mean, their Supreme Verdict never broke that. We have to look at those kinds of things. At the sweepers and standard, they have kind of a bench line.
Yeah, I mean, going more long term in modern, Anger of the Gods is actually, I would say, it's the best sweeper in that class of cards.
Yeah, absolutely, it's amazing in modern. If I'm holding $3 in hand, I don't know that I want to be buying Anger right now.
No. Yeah,
the spread isn't bad though.
It's also kind of a sideboard card more than a main deck card. I mean, if anything, I'd say stock might be on the decline now. It might be built up now because of expectation, and then after the Pro Tour, we're going to see things fall that didn't perform, and that might be a casualty.
Entirely
I'd be
possible.
getting rid of extra ones, and then End Hostilities is in relatively low demand, and there's only going to be more opened in the future.
I've got some Anger of the Gods on MTGO. I'm not entirely sure what they're worth right now, but it's unfortunate. I tried to get some of our MTGO columnists, Matt and Sylvan, on here, but they had family obligations, so it would be great to hear their take on the MTGO subtleties. But I'm looking at the paper chart for Anger of the Gods here, and it was at an all-time low 6 weeks ago and has been steadily climbing since then. It's now halfway between its all-time low and its post-pre-release, or its post-pre-sale peak, if that makes any sense. So it's like it's correcting up to where it probably should be.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
But the ceiling looks like it's $6. It would take something very surprising to make this more than this $6 card, and I think 4 is closer to reality here. Again, it totally depends on what you're trying to do. If you're the kind of person who's going to play an Anger of the Gods in your Magic life, if you need that card to play Magic, it's probably not going to be cheaper tomorrow than today. It might not be more expensive either, but like, this is one of those cards where I'm not trying to buy this to make money on it. I'm trying to buy this to avoid paying more for it in 2 weeks. So it's one of those things where you don't have to rush out and try to like beat everybody else to the TCG player orders. Just bear in mind that this is seeing play. It does a lot of things very well. Most importantly, it screws over delve decks that are hoping to trade off their creatures.
That's a good point.
And delve is really having a coming out party this weekend.
Yeah, sort of like Dredge with Ravnica. Before that tournament, people knew Life from the Loam was great. There was a extended Pro Tour right after Ravnica was released, and it was a new format because they rotated extended, and people knew that Dredge was going to be good, and then we saw people like Kenji and Billy Moreno build different decks with Dredge in it. We had Billy Moreno with Blue-Green Madness deck that splashed into black for some Dredge cards and Psychotog, and then we saw Kenji play this interesting Gifts Ungiven Psychotog Loam deck. And that was it. And then a few months later, we saw the whole Dredge deck with Icarid and the full-powered dredge deck that went on to dominate the format and sort of revolutionize Magic in a way. Well, it was around for the Pro Tour, but it hadn't even been found until later. And it doesn't seem like that's happening. People are seeing the power of Delve and prowess. These keywords are powerful, and they're meant to be used and constructed. I'm interested to see if we'll see more treasure cruise in Standard.
Do you think Treasure Cruise is going to see play over Dig? Because I feel like
yeah, that's the thing. It has a lot of competition.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, Treasure Cruise does feel nice. It does feel nice. I mean, running 2 of those alongside 4 Dig feels nice. Running 4 Cruise, 2 Dig feels nice. I feel like I want to be in that kind of effect at least 6 times if I'm playing something like Sultai, maybe.
Yeah, certainly it's something on the radar. We're going to see it. Even something like Blue-Red Burn.
Can I hop in here? I think there's an angle that a lot of people are missing when they talk about Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time being competitors. I think if we go back to the analogy of Scourge Familiar, where you can turn your extra cards into essentially mana, you don't care about discarding a Treasure Cruise to make an extra mana for a Dig Through Time, and vice versa. Like, I think Treasure Cruise is the worst of the 2 cards by far, but I think that you're going to need Dig Through Times numbers 5, 6, 7, and 8, and you can probably do some sort of degenerate combo with discard outlets like Prognostic Sphinx. Is there any way to take advantage? First of all, are there any other discard outlets besides the Sphinx?
Well, there's things like Tygams, whatever it is, that will conceivably put 5 cards in your graveyard right there, and if you're counting a card in your graveyard as a mana, that's even better than a Seething Song.
Yeah. I would just keep our eyes open for ways to play more and more Delve cards, because people think, oh, well, you don't want to play multiple Delve cards because they get harder to cast. And I think we said earlier, like, it's the opposite. They just keep getting easier to cast, because as the game goes on, you can cycle through more and more of your cards. Steam Augury, as we said, is also insane for finding and stocking Delve cards. Like, using Steam Augury to find a Dig Through Time is like, congratulations, you've just seen a quarter of your deck.
Yeah, the other thing is
all in their end step. Go ahead.
These cards have mana costs. You could just remove a couple of cards and just tap out at the end of turn and cast either of these card drawing spells.
They brought that up in coverage last night. When a player on the end step cast his Delve, basically tried to cast his Delve for as little as possible. He was willing to spend all his extra mana to keep cards in his graveyard.
Yeah.
Which I think was one of those plays that the announcer was like, yeah, that's just good Magic. Because I think people just like the idea of, hey, it's just free mana. But, your lands are going to untap next turn.
Yeah, the cards in the graveyard are a very valuable resource when you have Delve cards. I was talking to my friend, I was watching him do a draft, and I was saying how Delve is like Phyrexian mana, in a way.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those sort of free spell mechanics that I'm always really attracted to.
Yeah. I mean, free spells are the most powerful spells in Magic.
Anytime they print a mechanic that will lower a mana ability, you can bank that they're going to misprice a card or 2.
And looks like you have.
Dismember shouldn't have cost what it did. Mental Misstep probably shouldn't have even seen play. So that whenever they get horsey about that stuff, they're going to blow it on a couple card costs.
Did you just use the adjective
horsey?
Dig
through 7, that's like a lot.
Like Treasure Cruise, people will never be casting this on turn 3 in Modern without running Tome Scour, but that kind of stuff happens.
That's funny.
Yeah, Disciple of Deceit, Sam Blitch just brought up in chat. Like, I'm not huge on this card. I like that it's a 1/3, and thus it blocks Courser. It's a 1/3 for 2 mana, and it's got a pretty remarkably good effect when you untap it. Unfortunately, you have no way to tap it besides turning it sideways. But if you could find some way to tap it, then that seems like a great way to fuel Delve. And interestingly enough, you could probably, if you played a bunch of Dig Through Times, which is converted mana cost 8, and is Treasure Cruise converted mana cost 9?
Is 8.
They're both 8?
Mm-hmm, they're both
Yes.
8.
Well, what's the best 8-drop in Standard? Because like those aren't really 8 mana cards. But for Disciple of Deceit's purposes, they sure are.
Best 8-drop. That's interesting.
Yeah, just a little thought experiment.
Is Asher cost 8?
Does what?
Ashen Rider.
Ashen Rider is 8, but I don't know that many people pay retail for it. I mean, I think the best 8-drop is Genesis Wave X or Genesis Hydra X equals 6.
Yeah, but then so
Yeah.
you can't tutor for that then. Yeah, probably just too cute.
So it looks like they're doing a Q&A with Wesco and Flock. This is a pretty cool feature. I think the coverage keeps getting better and better every Pro Tour.
They're doing a great job this time.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely.
So they're going to be back tomorrow, and that's really going to be exciting. Actually seeing the top 8 decks and then seeing them combat each other.
Oh yeah, I'm really.
Are they
looking forward to
doing-
this.
Are they doing constructed top 8 or is it draft?
It is all constructed. I mean, they
Okay, yeah.
sell, right?
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Last year in Dublin, it was standard top 8. This is going to be standard top 8.
I think it would be a mistake not to do a standard top 8.
Yeah.
So, Adam, I know you need to take off here soon. I really appreciate you coming on, man. This has been a ton of fun, and I'd love to keep doing this some more. But
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
for tonight, we need to
Yeah, it's been fun.
take off, get some dinner, and it's really exciting to tune back in tomorrow and see what goes on with the top 8. I mean, I don't think there's any more surprises that we're gonna come up with, but Doug and I are going to keep an eye on coverage, and anyone who's in this stream right now, if you want to send us some tips and information, you can always get in touch with us through Quiet Speculation chat or just by email. Let
Or
us know
Twitter.
or
Twitter, yeah.
Twitter's great too, but let us know if there's anything that we might have missed. And thanks for tuning in. Thank you very much. If you think you got value out of this, the only thing I'm going to ask you to do is click the follow button on Twitch. I'm not even going to ask you to join Quiet Speculation. I'll let you make that decision for yourself. All I ask is for your follow. Because if you follow this, that means you watched, and that means next time I'll think, well, that's one more person who made this worth our time. So let's take one more question. Sir Cucumber. How much of our portfolio should we be invested in this post-Pro Tour until the next set? Are we already putting back to the next set? I'm not sure that question is entirely clear, but I think
I think what he's asking is how much do you want to hold on to versus investing right now. I think I would be putting 100% of my bankroll into this with the idea of getting out within a month. I wouldn't be buying anything that I was holding for more than a month right now. you're going to have some long-term holds like your temples. But I would you never want to be stuck with the next set coming out, looking at cards that you haven't sold yet, and knowing that like you want to get this new stuff, you want to get it in these pre-orders if there are underpriced ones, if they're good ones. I think you have a good 2 to 3 months though on this set.
Got it. Do you think that people should go? If you had to pick one place that you would have, if you could pick one spec or one basket of specs to put your money in, say it's $100, just your beer money. Are you going Scrylands? Are you going, a lot of the good stuff from this new set has already kind of peaked up.
I'm going nuts. I'm going Seeker of the Way. Give me $100 worth of Seeker of the Way.
I was actually thinking something along those lines.
You like the uncommons, both of you.
See, like the rare market is hard to get in on in that it is you don't have great gains sometimes. It's often feels like it's solved, but the uncommons market is so inefficient. Which is to say that people in stores will often have slow updates on pricing, or they'll pay a lot for uncommons because they don't want to go through boxes and dig them up or whatever. So I like uncommons as a way if you're putting a lot of money in and you want to see like quick movements. Uncommons feel like if you follow the stock market at all, like you're buying options instead of stocks. Like there's very little underlying value in them, but if an uncommon hits, it hits so much harder than a rare does.
That's a really good point, and I don't think we harp on that nearly enough. The upside to rares just isn't there. And look, the spread on Seeker of the Way is 44%. It's already buy listing for 20 cents. What the things that I saw this card do over the weekend were cards that a $5 rare does. The things that it was able to do in combat were just nightmarish. Like attacking with it, and then like trying to figure out if your opponent's going to be able to convoke Stoke the Flames or like a Titan Strength. Like it's so hard to build a game plan around this. And if you screw it up, your creatures are going to die. The life totals are going to swing by 6, 7, 8 points. And your opponent's going to blow you out with dirt cheap grizzly bears and combat tricks.
And I had higher hopes for a Hordling Outburst. I'm glad people tried it this tournament. Its day could still come. I think it's cheap enough to move in on. I mean Seeker of the Way just feels like an incredible card. It feels like one of those things that people are going to wonder, like they're not going to even want to dig through the collection to get it when they're going to an event, because it's like I'll buy it at the store, and then they're okay with paying $1 for it at the store. That's a card that like I think you would always feel okay paying $1 for the day of. And if you're buying that card at 40%,
absolutely. I was going to go do that tonight.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I bought Twisted Image at the store the other day because it's like I'm not even going to go through my collection and find some of these. They just give me a playset for $2.
Yeah. Another thing is Hushwing Griff might be another decent place to put some money. I mean, that card is modern playable. It's not going to go down.
It's a unique effect, too.
Yeah.
Are there any other creatures that do what it does?
There are not. I mean, Lindball is close in terms of effect on the board sort of thing. Samblich brings up Monastery Swift Spear. I think that's a good card. I think it's a little bit pricey at $1.50 right now. It's an interesting card. I like it.
All right, guys, I'm going to dip out. Thanks for having me.
Awesome,
I'll talk to you later. Thanks
for
everyone.
Stopping in. Yeah, on that note, I think we can call this a day. I'm going to leave the overlay open so people can keep an eye on Twitter and on the coverage, but I think we're going to dip out here. Just to answer one last question.
Absolutely.
The stock ticker is from MTG Stocks as well. We really like the way they designed it. Yeah, Doug, you said you really are interested in doing this again?
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. We got a lot of participation from people, which made it really cool.
Yeah,
so
we did this for 3 hours.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's fun to do this. It's fun to do this, and especially to talk to people and to give some attention to questions people have and talk them out.
Yeah.
I don't know all the answers. I don't know half the answers. I don't know a third of the answers. But it is fun to talk about this stuff, get people's input, and sort of reason it out. So thanks for paying attention, guys.
Yeah, and this is very much an experiment. I put together this overlay this morning just to see what we could do, and I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. There's a lot of polish it needs, but we're very open to feedback about every little bit of this. Like, none of this represents our best effort or our complete thoughts on the matter. We really are just kind of sketching out this format for you guys on what is essentially the biggest Magic weekend of the year, because we feel like there is a niche for alternative coverage beyond what the official team we're talking about. And like we watch the official team, we've got it embedded in our stream, but like there are people who want to know more about finance, and they can't really talk about that on air. They're not allowed to.
So thank you for joining us. As we leave here, I'm going to be enjoying watching Mike Sigrist versus Owen the Enchanter, the Abzan aggro deck, coming in with a quick start versus Owen's blue-black control. So I hope you enjoy this as much as I do, and thanks for watching, guys.
Indeed. Click follow, and we'll see you all real soon.
Is it going to get Heroes Downfalled? Does Owen even
Can he
particularly
cast?
care about it?
Is there a Urborg
Yeah,
somewhere?
there's an Urborg.
Okay, I was like, where is the Urborg? Because I know there's one here somewhere. Yeah.
It turned on both of Owen's removal spells.
Wow.
Actually.
Yeah, Bile Blight and Heroes Downfall now live, and his Evolving Wilds is also now just a swamp.
Well, of course, Owen has the Urborg in his hand.
No
so
reason to let Mike Sigrist know about that, though.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, it's kind of like might as well get some rub-ins.
Yeah, make Sigrist feel bad.
Now, how bad is this for Owen here? He's all the way. He's fallen down to 14 life here, and he's currently being beaten down.
Not that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, in my mind, he survived the first 4 turns of the game, and he's still got 14 life points left.
Well, and I think the operative thing is that he's got dig through time. I mean, every single time that he 1-for-1 Sigrist, it just gets him closer to casting this spell that is just so powerful. I mean, it really is the incentive to be in this color combination. And, yeah, I mean, Dissolve just doing that. I mean, when you're an aggro deck, I mean, that Heir of the Wild is just a literal 2-2 for 2. I mean, none of the rest of the text on the card matters.
No.
It's not the most powerful clock when you're trying to end the game quickly against a blue-black control opponent.
This deck designed, I believe, by Andrew Cuneo.
Yes. Owen's deck is a Cuneo special for sure.
Mike Sigrist is on Team Face-to-Face Games, and they came up with this Abzan aggro deck while testing here in Hawaii for the week. Owen Turtenwald is on Team Channel Fireball, the Pantheon. Really the dominant team of the last, call it, year or so.
Yeah, at least.
At least.
They've got a couple guys in that X4 scrum as well. Read Andrew Cuneo among them.
The deck's designer there. So Sigrist, I mean, he can cast Fleece Mainline, he can hold up Charm, Downfall mana. I think with 4 mana, he's going to want to wait on that Herald of Torment. And Owen has access to dig through time, but literally nothing else right now. So this is a big dig through time for Owen.
God, it just always hits. I've been down in the feature match area on and off throughout the day, watching the players and looking at 7 cards. You just seem to find what it is you need almost every time. It's so deep into your library.
Yeah, 7 cards is a lot of cards, that's for sure.
I mean, look at that grip that,
Yeah, I
that
saw
Owen has
Hero's
to choose
Downfall.
from.
Is there, and that is a Perilous Vault. Yeah, Perilous Vault is the one removal spell that where he can actually turn a profit. He can trade better than 1 for 1. Super expensive, 9 total.